everybody, and welcome to QuipScope. Shall we talk about a brand new game, a game that's just come out, or a game that's coming out very soon? My name is Ashton.
And my name is James.
James Jenkins, the Jenkster. What have you been playing this week?
I have been playing a game called Tactics Ogre Reborn.
Wow.
An epic title, and I'm sure if anybody's sort of familiar with the game anyway, they will not like me sort of mocking the title at all, but it is a strange one. So it's essentially a remaster of a very old classic, basically. It's from 1995, I believe the original came out.
Wow.
So it's a tactical RPG. The original game was called Tactics Ogre - Let Us Cling Together. That's the subtitle, yes.
Let us or let us?
Let us cling together. No, not like Liz Truss's lettuce.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an old school sort of tactical RPG. You know, your turn-based, your grid systems. So think like Fire Emblem, Advance Wars, XCOM, all those fun things that basically are straight right up my alley. Like,
yes.
I'm a big fan of all that sort of stuff.
The James Jenkins special.
It really is. And I mean, I'm really enjoying it. It's fantastic. It's a game that essentially exactly what you'd expect if you've sort of seen the likes of Fire Emblem, for example. That's probably like the closest thing, even though this... Actually, no, I don't think it does predate Fire Emblem. It predates Final Fantasy Tactics. So yeah, it's a classic. But...
what's the story?
Yeah,
What's the vibe?
I mean, the vibe is fantasy world, Valyrian Isles, I think it was. So this is a thing where this is more of a me problem than the game problem. It's a lot of like setting up initially, and there are a lot of fantasy names and place names and stuff that I may have gone over my head. But I will say it introduces things a lot more simply than the likes of... So I played Triangle Strategy earlier in the year, and that felt like it was just, boom, here's like a crap ton of lore to take in. But essentially you've got 3 warring factions, and your people have gotten a short straw out of a previous war. So you're trying to fight back. You play as a guy called Denham. Forget his second name. And there's like 3 of you initially, and then it very quickly ramps up with like more and more people joining your cause. And yeah, generally speaking, it's just warfare, fantasy warfare, and lots of the typical trappings that come with that. So like an early on fight with a necromancer, for example, and yeah, all of that sort of fun stuff. But I'd say like the big difference between something, say for example Fire Emblem as well, very story heavy, but also same sort of like tactical combat. This allows you to recruit as many soldiers as possible, and it seems to encourage more people get involved. I mean, a lot of them are like story characters, but plenty of them can be just, along for the ride. You've hired them, and then you may train them up, give them certain equipment, which we'll get onto in a minute. There's a lot of mechanics at play in this game. It's very in-depth and a little bit confusing for me at first, but yeah, essentially you're encouraged to sort of build up like a big team, it seems like. So it also has permadeath. And yes, the dreaded permadeath, I know. Unlike, I suppose, because you've played Mario and Rabbids recently, I don't think Mario or Toad
can
dies.
die forever.
No. Yeah, stakes are high. And
is there a limit to how many people you could have in a battle at a time? Or is it like you can have as many as you could possibly fit on the screen? So
yeah, there is a limit. I may have gone too overboard with like saying, oh, you can recruit as many people, but there's a limit. I think 12 maximum, but at the minute I've only played up to sort of 8 in your party, and then you'll have a few AI controlled teammates along for the ride as well. So I think the big thing, because a lot of people will probably be aware, if they're interested in Tactics Ogre, they'll be aware of the series anyway. The differences in this one, because as I say, it's like a remake of a 2010 game, which was also a sort of remake or remaster of that original game. There are a few things that have changed. So obviously graphics and sound. It's got that very sort of typical pixel art sort of style, kind of like a pseudo sort of 3D where you can change like from a sort of isometric view to like top down and whatnot. Okay. That's not a new feature, but equipment and skill balances. A lot of things have changed there. You can now scout out the battlefield before each battle, so you have an idea of like what you're actually facing, which I feel like is, if this wasn't in a previous thing, then that's a massive quality of life improvement. So mentioning permadeath, you can revive downed units. The way that sort of works is a little bit different. I believe it used to have like a life system, but right. But now you have a unit goes down and you've got 3 turns to sort of pick them up again with a spell or skills, whatever really is going on. Shops are improved. Another big thing is training. So again, in the previous games, you'd have like your main sort of story fights, and then you'd have random encounters. The random encounters are out, but you can just do a training match on a sort of a previous battlefield, right. And then just essentially that RPG, that old school RPG style of like, well, I need to level up and grind my levels up to whatever the unit cap is at the minute. So those are what's changed. Done this a little bit backwards, but in terms of the actual like mechanics of the game itself, there's so much. So basically each unit has a lot of different stats. Just think your standard like RPG stats, dexterity, strength, all that sort of stuff, intelligence, equipment. So there are a vast variety of different like types of weapons. So even with like range, you can have like a great bow, you can have like a one-handed bow, and that means you can equip a knife on the other hand with certain characters. You have like swords, axes, all the things you can imagine really, and then a few extra for good luck. All of that depends on like the different classes. There are a lot of different classes from what I've gathered, at least like 8, and I think there's going to be like more than that. Like it feels like it's setting up for a lot more, because I believe so another mechanic is the fact that you can recruit enemy units if you have the required skill. So that was kind of interesting, in that as soon as I got that ability, I was trying, even though it was a low chance, I was trying it every single time I could. Yeah. And it's a weird one in that it almost kind of works like Pokemon. You sort of weaken the enemy, and then there's more of a chance. For some reason, you beat the crap out of them, and there's more of a chance for them to join your side. I don't, logic.
Yeah. Thank you for beating me up. Let's be besties now.
Yeah, that's it. A bunch of other stuff, spells, finishing moves, lots of different ways to sort of equip your characters, and you can change your classes in any way if you get required items. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it sounds like sounds like my brain would take one look at it and just combust.
I'm still confused, honestly.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the most accessible.
Well, I see. This is the thing, because I think it's fairly accessible if people are, if people don't touch that sort of game, then no, absolutely, it's not super accessible. That's fair, but like, I think it introduces different features in a sort of gradual enough manner, and crucially, like I'll go back to like the triangle strategy comparison. It doesn't feel like it's suffocating you too much with the story either. It's like, there is a rich story, and from what I've gathered, it's quite. It's going to be quite a good story. I've got no complaints about that. It's the fact that there's various different fantasy lands mentioned and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a very simple one of like, you've had your people's freedoms taken away from you. You want to fight back, and then things build up from there. So there's like cutscenes in between. I should mention it's all voiced as well, and it's quite good voice acting, to be fair. So a nice little bonus as well, which I assume the original 90s one probably didn't have. But yeah, it's, as I say, like it slowly like introduces these things. There's also, I should mention as well, like that's another new aspect of these like buff cards, essentially, where there are sort of
cards.
Yes.
No,
yes,
don't
there
tell
are
Peter.
cards. Yes,
Don't
I
tell
know.
Peter.
Sorry, Peter. No, there are cards, but you don't actually. They're just, items that you pick up. It's
Yeah.
fine. There's no actual card play at work here. It's all a lie. But yeah, they're just something else to sort of mix up the battlefield as well. So, alongside the fact that you've got. I should actually mention as well. It's again a lot of things, and they just keep on popping up. I swear I did take notes, but the battlefields are all very varied in elevation.
Right.
That makes sense. So it's got you could have like a massive cliff, and it actually looks like pseudo sort of 3D. It's like, and those will give you sort of various benefits, as you'd imagine. Like having the high ground, always better.
Yeah.
And alongside that, you've got those cards that can, if you land on that square, you get either like a buff to your physical damage or critical chance, all that sort of stuff, really.
So, the last thing I have to ask you.
Yes.
Is there any ogres in Tactical Ogre?
Well, I've not found any yet, but apparently you can recruit. Yeah, when I was looking at a couple of things on a wiki to find out, wait a minute, how does this work again? You can recruit all manner of different beasties, not just human compatriots. So yeah, it's there's every chance there's going to be ogres.
Okay.
I'm holding out for ogres, honestly.
Okay, well, just enough time for a quip then at the end of this QuipScope.
Yes.
Tactical Ogre Reborn? That's the name of it?
Tactics Ogre Reborn?
Tactics
Yes. Got
Ogre
it.
Reborn.
Yeah.
More like Tactics Ogre mourn the loss of all of your comrades because they have died forever.
Yeah, etc., etc.
Yep.
That's very good. Very good. Yeah, Tactics Ogre Reborn. More like Tactics. I'm an ogre and I've been relayered because I have layers.
Right, yeah, like Shrek. I got it. Good one.
Nice.
Thank you guys so
Nailed
much
it.
for listening / watching. If you're on the podcast feed, you can check out the video on the YouTube channel. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Love you. Bye.